Deployment ended early. Drove 9 hours. Found my son eating from the trash can. The Georgia sun was oppressive at 3 p.m. when Derek Hanson's pickup truck rolled down Oakmont Avenue. He had been driving since 6 o'clock that morning, straight from Fort Bragg, his deployment cut short by 2 months due to budget reallocations. The surprise homecoming was supposed to be a celebration. He'd spent miles imagining Travis's face lighting up, Julia crying happy tears, and maybe even her father, Gordon, cracking one of his rare smiles. Derek turned onto Pinecrest Drive and pulled into the driveway of the modest 2-story colonial he'd bought before his last tour. The house looked tired. The lawn was overgrown, and the paint was peeling from the shutters. Killing the engine, Derek sat for a moment, working the stiffness out of his shoulders after 9 hours behind the wheel. At 34, with 12 years in the Army, he still felt a boyish excitement about coming home. He grabbed his duffel from the truck bed and headed for the front door, but stopped short. A sound came from the backyard, a small, desperate scratching. Derek's training kicked in before he could even process the thought. He dropped his bag and moved silently along the side of the house, his boots barely making a sound on the grass despite his size. What he saw through the gap in the fence made his blood turn to ice. A small figure was crouched beside the garbage cans. One hand was deep inside a black plastic bag, scavenging. The boy was barefoot on the concrete, his rail-thin legs visible beneath dirty shorts. Derek pushed through the gate. "Travis!" The boy spun around, and Derek's heart shattered. His 7-year-old son stood there with sunken cheeks and ribs clearly visible through a stained T-shirt. He was holding a half-eaten container of moldy pasta. Dark circles ringed his eyes, and his feet were filthy, weeping from small cuts. "Daddy?" The word was a broken whisper. Derek moved forward slowly, keeping his voice level despite the white-hot rage building in his chest. "Hey, buddy, it's me. I came home early." Travis dropped the container and recoiled, his thin body trembling. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was hungry," Mommy said. He trailed off, tears streaming down his gaunt face. "What did Mommy say?" Derek knelt, making himself smaller and less threatening. "Food is for blood-related only," Travis said, his voice mechanical and rehearsed. "I'm not allowed to eat their food. Grandpa Gordon says I'm a burden, a mouth to feed. He says I have to earn my meals, but I'm never good enough." Derek's hands clenched into fists. 12 years of combat, 3 tours, and countless hostile situations had prepared him for many things, but not for this. His son was eating from the trash. "Come here, son." Derek opened his arms. Travis hesitated, then stumbled forward. When Derek caught him, he felt nothing but bone. The boy weighed barely 40 pounds. He should have been 60. Lifting him easily, Derek felt Travis bury his face into his neck. "You're not in trouble," Derek whispered. "You didn't do anything wrong. Not one single thing. You understand me?" Travis nodded weakly. Derek carried him to the truck, his mind already shifting into tactical mode. Document everything. Secure the asset. Gather intelligence. He had learned to compartmentalize his emotions in Kandahar, and he needed that skill now more than ever. He settled Travis in the passenger seat and pulled out his phone. He took 3 photos of the garbage cans, 2 of Travis's feet, and 1 full body shot. Then he switched to video. "Travis, can you tell me again what Mommy said about food?" The boy repeated the heartless mantra word for word. Derek saved the file with a timestamp. "When did you last eat a real meal?" "Thursday, maybe. Grandpa Gordon gave me some bread crusts after I cleaned the garage." "It was Sunday." Derek's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "Okay. Let's get you something to eat, buddy. Something good." They drove to a local diner where Derek ordered a feast: pancakes, eggs, bacon, and chocolate milk. Travis stared at the plates as if they were a miracle. "Slow down," Derek said gently as Travis began to shovel food into his mouth. "Small bites. Your stomach isn't used to this." They sat in the booth for an hour. Derek let Travis eat at his own pace while he made meticulous notes on his phone. Every detail, every word. In Army intelligence, he'd learned that you build a case brick by brick. "Daddy." Travis looked up from his chocolate milk. "Are you going to leave again?" "Not without you," Derek promised. "That's a vow. Mommy says you don't love me because you're always gone. She says I remind you of your mistakes." Derek reached across the table and took Travis's small, fragile hand. "Your mother is wrong. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Never a mistake. And I'm going to fix this. All of it." As the sun began to set, they drove back to the house. Derek parked and told Travis to stay in the truck with the doors locked. "I need to talk to Mommy and Grandpa. You stay put. If anything happens, hit this button," he said, pointing to the panic alarm on his keychain. Derek walked to the front door. The rage had settled into a cold, focused precision. He had seen men lose themselves to anger in combat and make fatal errors. He wouldn't be one of them. He pushed the door open. The house smelled of stale air and neglect. The living room was a graveyard of empty beer bottles, pizza boxes, and laundry. On the couch, Julia sat next to Gordon, both of them laughing at a reality show while sharing a fresh pizza. Julia looked well-fed. She had clearly gained weight since his last visit. They were enjoying a family moment, while Travis had been starving in the backyard. Derek stood in the doorway, unnoticed, watching them for a long beat. "Hello, Julia," Derek said quietly. Julia jumped, nearly spilling her beer. Gordon turned slowly, his expression shifting from surprise to a cold, flickering calculation. "Derek," Julia said, standing and smoothing her hair. "Oh my God, you're home. Why didn't you call? We would have." "Where's Travis?" Derek interrupted. He's in his room, I think. Probably napping." She moved toward him, arms outstretched for a hug, but Derek didn't budge. "He's in my truck," Derek said, his voice like grinding stones. "I found him in the backyard eating out of a garbage can." The color drained from Julia's face. Gordon's eyes narrowed. "That's ridiculous," Julia said quickly, her voice pitching higher. "He must have been playing. You know how kids are, they pretend. He's starving." Derek's voice remained flat, terrifyingly controlled. "He weighs 40 pounds. His ribs are showing. His feet are bleeding because he's been walking around barefoot, and he told me that you said food is only for blood-related people." Julia glanced at her father. Gordon stood slowly, using his height in a clumsy attempt to intimidate. "Now look here, Derek. You've been gone for months. You have no idea what it's been like raising that boy. He's difficult. He doesn't listen. Sometimes discipline requires tough measures." "Tough measures." Derek repeated the words slowly. "Is that what you call child abuse? Don't you dare come into my daughter's house and accuse." "My house," Derek barked. "My name is on the deed. My money paid for it. And it's my son you've been torturing." Julia's face hardened. The mask finally slipped. "He's not your son." The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Derek's expression didn't flicker. "Explain." "Oh, for God's sake, Derek. Did you really think?" Julia laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Travis isn't yours. He never was. I was pregnant when we met. The father was some nobody who took off. You were so eager to play the hero, the big strong soldier, that you never even questioned it." Gordon nodded, crossing his arms over his expensive polo shirt. "We've been carrying your mistake for 7 years. The boy's not your blood. Why should we waste resources on him?" "Get out," Derek said. "What?" "Get out of my house. Both of you. Now." Julia's eyes flashed with indignation. "This is my home. You can't just—" "I can, and I am." Derek pulled his phone from his pocket. "I have video of Travis describing the abuse. I have photographs. I have documentation. I'm going to the police, and then I'm going to a lawyer. But first, I'm getting my son somewhere safe. You have 30 seconds to leave, or I call the cops right now and have you arrested for child felony abuse." Gordon stepped forward, his face reddening. "You think you can threaten me? I have connections in this town. I know judges, lawyers. You're just some grunt who follows orders. You won't do a damn thing." Derek took one step forward, just one, placing himself so close that Gordon had to strain his neck to maintain eye contact. "I've done 3 tours in Afghanistan. I've seen things that would make you piss yourself. I've made men twice your size cry for their mothers. Don't test me, Gordon. Not today. Not ever." The older man recoiled. Something primal in his brain recognized a genuine predator. "We'll see about this," Julia hissed, grabbing her purse. "I'll get a lawyer. I'll take you for everything. That boy isn't even yours." "Then you won't mind giving up custody," Derek said. "Leave. Now." He watched through the window as they climbed into Gordon's Mercedes and peeled out of the driveway. He stood there for a long moment, breathing slowly, forcing his adrenaline down. When he returned to the truck, Travis looked up at him with huge, fearful eyes. "Are they mad at me?" "They're gone," Derek said gently. "Come on, buddy. Let's get you cleaned up and into a real bed. Clean sheets. Somewhere safe." That night, after Travis had finally fallen asleep, Derek sat in the dark living room. He had washed the boy, the water running brown at first, and found old clothes in the back of the closet that still fit his diminished frame. He had served him a small dinner of chicken and rice, careful not to shock his system. Now, Derek opened his laptop. Army intelligence had taught him how to dig, how to find patterns, and how to follow the money. He started with their joint bank statements. He saw large, frequent withdrawals and deposits into Gordon's account. His military pay was being diverted as fast as it hit the bank. He dug deeper. Gordon's firm, Henderson Real Estate Development, had been hemorrhaging money since 2020. Tax records showed mounting debt and collection notices. And then Derek found the smoking gun. A life insurance policy on Travis, taken out 2 months after Derek's last deployment began. Total value, $500,000. The beneficiaries were Julia and Gordon. Derek stared at the screen, his hands shaking, not with rage, but with a cold, terrifying clarity. The pieces clicked. The starvation, the neglect, they weren't just being cruel. They were waiting for him to die. Malnutrition, a weakened immune system, a tragic infection while the hero father was overseas. They were going to collect $500,000 on the life of a 7-year-old. Derek pulled out a burner phone. He had friends, brothers in arms who had moved into different worlds. Leon Kramer, a private investigator. Damon Snyder, a cybersecurity expert. Kyle Glover, a high-stakes family law attorney. By dawn, Derek had a plan. Julia and Gordon had 48 hours before they realized their fatal mistake. They thought they were dealing with a soldier who just followed orders. They were wrong. Derek Hansen had spent 12 years learning how to win wars, and he was about to show them what happened when you targeted his son. At 5:30 a.m., Derek called Kyle Glover. "Derek." Kyle's voice was thick with sleep. "Man, it's 5:30. "I need help," Derek said. "It's Travis." 10 minutes later, Kyle was wide awake and fuming. "Jesus Christ. Okay, listen to me. You did everything right. The documentation is gold, But you need to file an emergency custody motion today. Right now. She said she's not his biological mother, Derek noted. Doesn't matter yet. She's on the birth certificate. Until a judge says otherwise, she has rights. But with this evidence, we can get an emergency order this morning. I know a judge who is military-friendly. We'll meet her at the courthouse. There's more, Derek added, explaining the life insurance and the money trail. The line went silent. Derek, what you're describing is a conspiracy for murder. You need to go to the police. After I secure custody. If they think I'm coming for them criminally before I have the papers, Julia might run with him or claim I'm the abuser. I need the legal shield first. Then I bring the hammer down. You're thinking tactically, Kyle sighed. It's what I do. Next, Derek called Leon Kramer. I need a full workup. Deep dive. Financials, criminal history, every skeleton in Gordon's closet. I need it by tonight. You going to war, brother? Leon asked. Already there, Derek said. I'm just planning the endgame. Travis woke up at 7 o'clock, confused and small in the large bed. Derek made him breakfast, scrambled eggs and fresh strawberries. The boy ate slowly, still glancing at the door as if expecting someone to snatch the plate away. Travis, Derek said gently, I need you to be brave today. We're going to see a judge. You're going to tell her the truth about what happened while I was gone. Can you do that? Travis nodded. Will I have to go back to Mommy? Not if I can help it. Good. I don't like her anymore. She's mean. And Grandpa Gordon, he scares me. Did he ever hurt you, Travis? Did he hit you? Travis went quiet, his eyes dropping to his plate. He locked me in the basement sometimes when I cried too much, Travis whispered, his voice trembling. It was dark and cold. There were spiders. Derek kept his expression neutral, but internally he was finalizing a mental checklist. Every crime, every cruelty, every moment of terror they had inflicted on this boy, they were going to pay for it all. At the courthouse, Kyle was waiting with a woman Derek didn't recognize. She appeared to be in her 50s, dressed in a sharp business suit, with kind eyes framed by wire-rimmed glasses. Derek, this is Constance Davidson, Kyle said. She's a child psychologist specializing in abuse cases. She's going to evaluate Travis before the hearing and provide expert testimony. Derek shook her hand firmly. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Constance looked at Travis, then back to Derek. I've seen a lot of tragedy in my career, Mr. Hansen, but the deliberate starvation of a child is particularly heinous. Let me spend some time with him. As she led the boy to a private room, Derek and Kyle waited in the hallway over cups of bitter courthouse coffee. What's the plan after this? Kyle asked quietly. It depends on what my investigator finds, Derek replied, his eyes cold. But Julia and Gordon are going to lose everything. Their freedom, their money, their reputation. Everything. He met Kyle's gaze. And if the law doesn't do enough, I'll get creative. Kyle nodded slowly, looking away. I didn't hear that. The emergency hearing began at 10 a.m. Judge Abby Bell, a woman known for her no-nonsense attitude, presided over the bench. She reviewed the photographs, listened to Constance's professional assessment, and interviewed Travis privately in her chambers. When she returned, her face was set in a mask of grim determination. I am granting full emergency custody to Mr. Derek Hansen, effective immediately, the judge declared. Mrs. Julia Hansen's parental rights are suspended pending a full investigation. I am also issuing a restraining order. Neither Julia Hansen nor Gordon Henderson is to come within 500 feet of this child. Furthermore, I am referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. She looked directly at Derek. Mr. Hansen, Your son is severely malnourished. I am ordering immediate medical attention. The court will assign a social worker to monitor his recovery. Do you have a safe place for him? Yes, Your Honor. We're at a residence inn for now, but I'll have permanent housing by the end of the week. See that you do. This hearing is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Derek felt the first weight lift from his chest. Travis was legally his. No one could take him away now. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with an encrypted text from Leon. Got preliminary info. You need to see this. Derek downloaded the file. As he read, the horror of the situation reached a new level. Gordon's company was 3 months from bankruptcy, and he had gambling debts totaling $200,000. He had been draining Derek's accounts, but it wasn't enough to stay afloat. Then Derek saw the insurance policies. There was the $500,000 policy on Travis, but Leon had found another, a $2 million policy on Derek himself, taken out by Julia with a forged signature. Leon had also found Gordon's search history: slow-acting poisons, untraceable toxins, accidental death insurance payouts. They weren't just neglecting Travis, they were waiting for him to die. The plan was to collect on the boy, then wait for Derek to be killed in the line of duty, or perhaps help that process along, to collect another $2 million. Derek and Travis weren't family to them. They were a retirement plan. Derek looked at his son, buckled into the passenger seat. "Hey, buddy," he said softly. "How would you like to visit Uncle Leon tomorrow? He has a cool office with spy stuff and computers." Travis's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? But first, we're going to the doctor." At the pediatrician's office, Dr. Alan Lehman's frown deepened as the exam went on. "Mr. Hansen, your son is dangerously malnourished. We're looking at potential organ damage and a severely compromised immune system. He needs to be hospitalized immediately." "How long?" Derek asked. "At least a week. We have to reintroduce nutrition slowly to avoid refeeding syndrome. To be honest, I'm shocked he's still standing. Another month of this." The doctor didn't finish the sentence. Derek stayed by Travis's side at the Children's Hospital for 6 days, sleeping in a chair. Travis was hooked up to IVs, looking heartbreakingly small against the white sheets. "Daddy," Travis whispered one night, "am I going to die?" "No," Derek said, his voice a vow. "You're going to grow up strong. And I promise you, the people who did this will never hurt anyone ever again." While Travis slept, Derek met Leon at a nearby coffee shop. Leon slid a thick folder across the table. "It's all here. The gambling debts are to a loan shark named Roy Willis. Nasty guy. And the emails between Julia and Gordon. They never say murder, but they discuss the timeline of Travis's decline perfectly." "I want them destroyed," Derek said. "Be smart, Derek. If you break the law, you lose the kid." "I won't break the law," Derek replied. "I'll just bend it until it snaps them in half." Derek began his counteroffensive. He called Damon Snyder, a buddy in cybersecurity, to dig into their digital lives. Then he called the loan shark, Roy Willis, directly. "Mr. Willis, my name is Derek Hansen. I know Gordon Henderson owes you $200,000. I can help you collect that plus interest if you pressure him publicly. Make him sweat. I want him desperate, because desperate men make mistakes." By the time Travis was released from the hospital, Derek had rented a furnished house in a quiet suburb. Travis's new room had dinosaur sheets and a view of a massive oak tree. That first night, as Derek made spaghetti, Travis asked the question Derek had been dreading. "Daddy, why did Mommy hate me?" Derek knelt beside him. "She doesn't hate you, Travis. She is broken inside in a way that makes her hurt people. It was never your fault. But she said I wasn't your real son." Derek took the boy's hands. "Blood doesn't make a family. Love does. I choose you every single day. You are my son in every way that matters. Travis threw his arms around Derek's neck. I love you, Daddy. Once Travis was asleep, Derek executed the next phase. Using Damon's research, he sent a massive report of building code violations at Gordon's properties to the city inspector and the local news. Within 48 hours, Gordon's face was on the evening news, looking panicked as his projects were hit with stop work orders. Finally, Derek called an old friend at the IRS. I have records of tax evasion and fraudulent deductions for Henderson Real Estate, Derek told him. How fast can you freeze his assets? If the fraud is ongoing? Pretty quickly, his friend replied. Do it. The third piece of Derek's plan involved Julia. Using the digital dossier Damon had compiled, Derek didn't just look for crimes. He looked for the truth. He found every text, email, and social media post where she had complained about Travis, calling him a burden and a mistake that won't go away. Derek packaged the criminal evidence, the insurance fraud and neglect, and sent it to the district attorney. But he didn't stop there. He sent the non-criminal evidence of her character to her employer at a dental office and to her social circle. Within a week, Julia was fired, her friends stopped calling, and her social media was a storm of confrontation. Pressure was mounting on all fronts. Roy Willis had made his move, showing up at Gordon's office with two large associates for a discussion about his debts. Between the IRS, the building inspectors, and the loan sharks, Gordon's world was collapsing. On the 12th day after Derek's return, his phone rang with an unknown number. Hello, Derek. It's Gordon. The man's voice was thin and strained. We need to talk. Julia and we made mistakes. But you're destroying our lives. This has your fingerprints all over it. I don't know what you're talking about, Derek said coldly. Don't play games. You're a soldier, not a criminal. Whatever you think we did. You starved my son, Derek interrupted. You took out life insurance and waited for him to die. You forged my signature to profit from my death. I have it all, Gordon. The DA has it all. You're going to prison. The only question is for how long. I can make this right, Gordon pleaded. I have money left. We can settle this quietly. There is no settlement for attempted murder, Derek said, and hung up. Moments later, Julia called, her voice a hissed vitriol. You bastard! You've ruined everything. All over some stupid brat who isn't even yours. His name is Travis, Derek replied, his voice a calm contrast to her hysteria. I don't care. I'm his mother. You have no right. You're a monster, Julia. And the DA has enough evidence to charge you both with 6 felonies. I'd suggest a good lawyer, but you can't afford one anymore, can you? I'll tell them you're unfit. I'll say you abused him, she screamed. Go ahead, Derek said. I have medical records, video evidence, and the testimony of a judge. I'd love to add perjury to your list of charges. She hung up, screaming into the void. Derek set the phone down and poured a bourbon. The trap was set. The end came swiftly. 2 days after Gordon tried to flee to Mexico and was flagged by the TSA, he and Julia were indicted on charges including attempted murder, child endangerment, and insurance fraud. Bail was set at $2 million each, money they no longer had. Derek watched the news from his living room while Travis played on the floor. The boy was gaining weight and smiling again. Though he still had nightmares and occasionally hoarded food, his sessions with Dr. Davidson were helping him heal. Daddy. Travis looked up. That's Mommy on TV. She looks sad. She should be, buddy. She did bad things. I'm glad I'm with you instead, Travis whispered. The final blow fell when Roy Willis filed legal liens against Gordon's remaining properties, and the IRS seized his accounts. Henderson Real Estate Development went bankrupt. Julia, left with a public defender after refusing a plea deal, stood no chance. The trial was a methodical execution of justice. The jury saw the insurance policies, the search histories, and the haunting medical photos of Travis. Derek took the stand, his voice steady as he described finding his son in the trash. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Gordon was sentenced to 25 years, Julia to 20. As they were led away in shackles, Gordon weeping and Julia staring blankly, Derek felt no joy, only a quiet sense of duty fulfilled. 6 months later, Derek's life had transformed. He had filed his discharge papers after 12 years of service, choosing to trade his rifle for a civilian life of security consulting. Travis was thriving in 2nd grade, safe and loved. One afternoon, while reviewing contracts in his home office, Derek's phone rang. "Mr. Hanson, this is Warden Chapman from FCI Coleman," the voice said. "I wanted to inform you that there was an incident involving Gordon Henderson." Derek's hand tightened on the receiver. "What kind of incident?" "He was assaulted by another inmate," the warden explained. "Apparently, word got around about his crimes. Child abuse and the attempted murder of a minor don't sit well with the prison population. He's in the medical ward now. He'll survive, but let's just say his time here won't be easy." "I see," Derek said, his voice neutral. "I thought you'd want to know. Also, Julia Hanson has been requesting to see you. She says she wants to apologize, to make amends." "Tell her no." "Understood. Have a good day, Mr. Hanson." Derek hung up and stared out the window. Gordon was suffering. Julia was broken. They had lost everything and would spend at least the next 15 years in a cage. He expected to feel a surge of satisfaction or the heavy weight of justice served, but all he felt was tired. "Daddy, can we go to the park?" Travis's voice drifted up from downstairs. Derek smiled, the fatigue lifting. "Yeah, buddy. Let me get my keys." The park was alive with the sounds of a Saturday afternoon. Children laughing, parents chatting, and dogs chasing frisbees. Travis made a beeline for the swings. As Derek pushed him, listening to his son's delighted shrieks, a woman with kind eyes approached him. "Your son seems happy," she remarked. "He is," Derek said. "It took some work to get here, but he is." "Are you a single dad?" "Yeah, just the 2 of us." She smiled warmly. "That's admirable. I'm Meredith Rivers, by the way. My daughter's over there on the monkey bars." Derek Hanson. They chatted easily while the kids played. Meredith was a teacher and a fellow single parent. She had a warm laugh that made Derek feel more at ease than he had in years. When the kids decided they wanted ice cream, the 4 of them walked to a nearby shop together. "I'd like to do this again sometime," Meredith said as they were leaving. "Maybe coffee? Just adults this time." Derek hesitated. He hadn't considered that his life could include anything beyond work and Travis. But Meredith was looking at him hopefully, and Travis was tugging on his hand, whispering, "She's nice, Daddy." "Yeah," Derek said, a genuine smile reaching his eyes. "I'd like that." That night, Derek received one last call from Leon. "Roy Willis got his money from the liquidated assets, Derek. He's satisfied. The debt is settled. Also, the insurance companies are coming after Julia for fraud. She'll be paying restitution for the rest of her life. She earned it. You did a hell of a job, Derek. You completely dismantled them. But I have to ask, was it worth it?" Derek looked through the doorway at Travis, who was curled up on the couch with a book and a snack, safe and content. "Yeah," Derek said quietly. "It was worth it. You're a good man, Hanson. Don't lose yourself in the darkness." "I won't. I have too much to live for now." After hanging up, Derek joined Travis on the couch. They went through their nightly routine, brushing teeth, pajamas, and one more chapter of Harry Potter. "Daddy," Travis asked as the lights went out, "are the bad people gone forever?" "Yeah, buddy. They're gone. They can't hurt you anymore. I promise. You're safe now. We both are. I'm glad you're my dad." Derek's throat tightened. "I'm glad you're my son." Epilogue. 2 years later, Travis was 9 years old and thriving. He was obsessed with dinosaurs, playing Little League, and the nightmares had faded into rare, distant memories. Derek's security consulting business was flourishing. He had found a new purpose as a protector rather than a warrior. He and Meredith had been dating for 18 months. She understood his past and his fierce protectiveness of Travis. Her daughter, Samantha, and Travis had become best friends. One Saturday morning, while Derek was flipping pancakes, Travis walked in with a school folder. "Dad, I have to write about my hero for class." "I picked you." "Oh yeah. Why's that?" "Because you saved me. You're like a superhero, but real." "I'm no superhero, buddy. I'm just your dad." "That's what makes you a hero," Travis insisted. "Superheroes have powers. You just had love, and you still won." Derek knelt down and pulled Travis into a tight hug. "You know what? You're the real hero. You stayed strong when things were terrible. That takes more courage than anything I did." Later that week, Derek received a letter with a prison postmark. It was from Julia. "I know I have no right to reach out," it read, "but I need to say I'm sorry. I was sick with greed and my father's influence, but that doesn't excuse it. Travis wasn't yours by blood, but he was always yours in every way that mattered. You chose him. I hope you find happiness. You earned it." Derek read the letter twice, then filed it away. Maybe one day he would show it to Travis, but for now, the past was exactly where it belonged, behind them. That evening, Derek took Travis, Meredith, and Samantha out for pizza. As they drove home with the kids asleep in the back, Meredith squeezed Derek's hand. "You're a good man, Derek Hansen." "I try to be." "You don't have to try," she whispered. "You just are." Derek smiled and drove toward home. He had spent 12 years fighting wars in distant lands, but his most important mission had been fought right here. Travis was safe, the monsters were caged, and Derek Hansen was finally, truly home. This is where our story ends. If you enjoyed this journey of justice and healing, let me know what you thought of Derek's tactical approach to saving his family.